My name is Addonisio. I represent State Senator Joe Addabbo. Obviously, in the State Senate has been getting a lot of news in the press lately for the shift in power. It's an extremely confusing situation, even for me. But I mean, basically, the senator just wanted to stress the point, which, in my opinion, too, is the most important, and that all the senators can just put their political ambitions and desires for personal power aside, and let's get down to business and, you know, address the laws and the pending legislation that's at hand. And to be honest, as I said before, because of the confusing nature of the situation, and it even confuses me a little bit, definitely, I always say it every month, but I can't encourage you enough to call the district office and ask any questions that you may have regarding the shift in power and what's going on, and especially at the present time with the legality issues of it. It's very, and then you know what? A lot of the major legislation that's still pending, like I think we spoke, it was the last meeting or the meeting before, where we discussed the town hall that we had on the mayoral control of the public school system. And I think it's 3-4 days that legislation is going to expire. And it's a very pressing issue. It definitely has to be addressed in some manner. And the state senate really has to sit down and address the issues like that and the pending legislation that's set to expire, and you know, whether renew or decline, and hear points. So the district office number to the Albany office, which the senator will be in all day tomorrow. Actually, I don't even know by memory yet, is 518-455-2322. He'll be there all day tomorrow, and again, I cannot stress enough, any questions, please call the district office in Albany. Friday, he will be over in the office back in the district in Howard Beach. That number is obviously 718-738-1111. And if anybody has any questions, as always, I'll be in the back till the duration of the meeting. Sure.
Do you think this is a ploy so that they can let the mayoral control expire before they have a chance to vote on it?
But see, personal?
No.
I'd rather not say anything personal, but it's difficult to say because it's a deadlock at this point, and you know, it was very confusing in the beginning because you had two senators that, you know, at that time, I think it was what, in a matter of 7 days, all these events have transpired. You know, there was a shift in power to the Republicans in the state senate, and now there's a deadlock, and you know what, the main issues, there's a lot of other issues that have to be addressed that are just as important, I mean, to everybody in the state. And that, as I said last meeting, is, to me, one of the most important.
Yeah, because the fact is that the Assembly approved.
Yes, they did.
And now it's up to the Senate.
Correct.
And if the Senate does not approve it within the next 3 days, it's going to expire.
Yes.
And then they're going to have to start all over again with going back to the Board of Education and without mayoral control.
Yeah,
I think that's really unfortunate for our children because they have been thriving under this mayoral control. At least you have someone to go to and say, hey, it's your fault, Mayor. You know, you didn't do a right job. Otherwise, you have no one to blame, really, or to take responsibility.
No, I totally agree.
And,
the fact that it's going to expire.
It's unfortunate that that may happen if they don't get their acts together.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. You have important issues, legislation like that needs to be renewed, and it's a very small window to do so. Especially since the State Assembly approved and renewed the mayoral control. 3 days is not a lot of time, so
do you think
hopefully things can get worked out.
Do you think that they're going to extend the legislative calendar to make up for the days lost? Because I think we're June 30th.
You know what? It's so hard, Vance, because it's like it's such a unique situation to happen, and especially at a time that's so close to the expiration date of so many important pieces of legislation, as far as, I mean, anything that can be done, like it's the extension of legislative term, who knows?
Plus, the caveat there is if anyone acts in any respect like the other side is in charge, it might set a precedent, right?
It might set a precedent, and it's kind of like at a stalemate at this point. I mean, if you read in the papers, they say that the Democrats want to try and just work with the other side and with the Republicans, and try and just get legislation done and passed, and then some papers say that the Republicans just want total power and things are done their way. The bottom line is, Republican, Democrat, Independent, it doesn't matter at this point. Because what matters at this point is the children in the public
That's
schools.
right, yeah.
Situations like that.
Children are gonna suffer.
So that's why, political aspirations, personal, desires for power, they gotta be put aside at this point. This is the time when our political officials have to prove themselves, regardless of what party they're with. So, one for all is absolutely right. Yes, ma'am.
These officials, are they getting paid to sit there and twiddle their thumbs?
To my knowledge,
Decided on anything?
I would have to assume that they still are getting paid. That I don't know. It is public knowledge. I'm sure you can find it
And you know,
somewhere. They are getting
the
paid.
news is having a campaign, there's a coupon in there. There's a coupon in there,
Yeah.
and they said, let's withhold the pay from all of the representatives there until things get settled, because they're actually getting paid for something that they're not doing.
Right.
So they've got about 10,000 replies back, and everybody is in agreement with that. Because this thing is just gonna go on for so long.
It's
What
to
about
the standard
us?
at this point.
What
I
about
totally
us?
agree. I'm in the same, I'm in the same boat as everyone else. I agree.
They did it one time before. They withheld all their salaries, that's right, because they couldn't agree on a budget. And they said, okay, until you agree on a budget for the people, you're not gonna get any money. The people are not gonna get any, you're not gonna get any. And they withheld the money from the Senate and the Assembly. And it went on for about 2 months. And then they settled the budget, remember, Lou? And then they settled the budget real fast.
It's funny too, because other than the renewal of the mayoral control of schools, there's also, there's a budget. I mean, we're in an economic crisis here as well. It's not like it's booming times and everybody's making money. I mean, people are losing money left and right because of the economic crisis that's going on here.
And they would do well not to call that much attention to themselves, because every time somebody says something, we're finding out terrible things. We're finding out
totally
that
agree.
somebody's supposed to come from the Bronx who doesn't live in the Bronx, who has a non-existent office in the Bronx.
$2 million of,
And we are finding out terrible things.
It's, you know what?
There's
it's-
nothing like the spotlight to sort of clean things
It's,
up.
you know what, hopefully they can turn a negative situation into an extremely positive situation, and like you said, the spotlight's on them. In my opinion, it's time for them to prove themselves as political officials, so hopefully everything can be put aside and get done.
And we're not here to shoot the messenger.
No, I mean, but yeah, you gotta remember too, I'm not just, I am not just a, yes, I work for Joe, and I think the world of him, by all means, but I live in Howard Beach, Ozone Park area. I suffer the same trials and tribulations that everybody in this room does. I'm no different, not like getting anything on the side, so and it's important issues. It's not like it's small stuff that can be pushed aside or delayed. I mean, when you talk about stuff like the budget and renewal, mayoral control, those are big things. And to get them done in a matter of 3 days now, because people are, have personal desires to move forward in their political career for whatever reason they're making the moves they are. There's only, one body that suffers, and that's us.
But we'll get even. We have low members.
I hope so. I wouldn't mind.
We'll get even, honey.
Both parties should be ashamed of themselves because they're acting worse than children in this. If they can't get their heads together and get this settled and improve those bills, what are they paid for?
There's no argument that I'm not going to stand and argue. I'm in agreement. I think that the legislation has to be passed. They have to be addressed. There was a famous quote. I don't remember it verbatim. I think it was by John F. Kennedy, and he said, "A pothole is neither a Democrat or Republican." And it's truth. If you look at the big picture, these bills have to be passed no matter what political party you belong to. They have to be reviewed. They have to be spoken about in chamber. At this point, with only 3 days and a complete stalemate, the political aspirations and whatever party you belong to has to totally be put aside. Ignorance has to be put aside.